What's going on, everyone? So, JJ Redick, the Los Angeles Lakers are expected to interview JJ Redick to give him an opportunity to jump to the forefront of the coaching search. I believe he's in the forefront now. I still believe it's his job to lose, but we'll touch on that here in a moment. So, JJ Redick, I don't imagine will be interviewed today, which at the time of posting this video is Friday, and that's because there's an NBA Finals game going on. So, I would guess he's going to get through that. It's very possible that the Boston Celtics end up sweeping the Dallas Mavericks, and then JJ Redick's going to have a bunch of free time, and I imagine we'll get the interview done this upcoming weekend. Sure, we'll get some news and updates once that happens. Right now, it kind of is trickling back and forth between JJ Redick or James Borrego, but there's even reports that James Borrego may end up taking the Cleveland Cavaliers offer, but the Cavs are still kind of doing their interview process, so it's kind of a race for Borrego, I guess. Even though, again, I really lean heavily to it being JJ Redick. No, the conversation for a month and a half was that it's JJ Redick, that this is basically his job to lose, and the Lakers looked at him as Pat Riley and all that stuff. It's just, there was so much noise to JJ Redick, and I mean, JJ Redick's even doing an interview where he's like, hint, hint, wink, wink, like, oh, I'll dress it when the finals is over. And the longer we go without a head coach, the more likely it is JJ Redick, because, again, they can't hire JJ Redick officially until after the playoffs are done. So, I mean, we could see JJ Redick end up being the Lakers head coach as soon as Monday or Tuesday, if he really is the guy, right? I'm sure that they want to kind of talk to him and go over everything one more time, maybe even kind of like, like, hey, you were always our first choice. We just kind of did this, the Dan Hurley thing as a formality, which I really do think it was, right? Like, again, all you heard was JJ, right? And then Dan Hurley kind of comes out of left field. And I don't believe that the Lakers necessarily knew that they would get him. There's a lot of talks about the low ball offer. I don't think Dan Hurley, it wasn't about the money, right? He even just did a recent interview. Again, I think he's trying to say that it wasn't a leverage play. I still don't buy it. Like, even just listening to him talk about the situation, it sounded like a leverage play. He's kind of like, oh, well, there's a certain amount of money that I would have taken. Well, what's that amount? I don't know what that amount is. So you had no idea what you're doing going into that interview, right? Isn't a negotiation just that? You negotiate, right? I tell you, I'll give you 11. You say you want 20, and we meet in the middle at 15. Isn't that like what a negotiation is? But nonetheless, I think what this is there's so much just kind of frustrations and just controversy about hiring JJ Redick, and it's kind of became this like, oh, Lakers are foolish if they do that, blah blah blah. And I think that going after Dan Hurley kind of gives the Lakers a get out of jail free card. It's like, hey, look, we wanted Dan Hurley, but he rejected it. And then James Borrego, we wanted him, but he ended up signing with the Cavs. What are we supposed to do? Right? Like, JJ Redick, that's it. I think ultimately it's always been JJ. I think it will be JJ. Again, I could be wrong. Maybe they do sign James Borrego, or maybe they surprise us and it's like Sam Cassell or something like that. I think it's always has and always will be JJ. I think everything else was just kind of smoke to kind of like, oh, hey, look over here while this is off. And it takes pressure off of JJ Redick with the NBA Finals and stuff, because now all the talk went from JJ and potentially distracting the NBA Finals to like, oh, here's Dan Hurley over here, because JJ's working directly with the NBA Finals and commentating and stuff. So, again, maybe that's just my tinfoil hat moment, but it lines up, makes sense, it adds up. If JJ Redick ends up getting hired, then that even further confirms my, I guess, conspiracy or whatever you want to call it. I think it's going to be JJ Redick. Again, I'm all for JJ, right? Now, obviously, they got to get this right. And Rob Pelinka, I hope, at least was doing his due diligence, right? I said from day one that I'm all for hiring JJ because I'm not really worried about the on-court stuff. It's just everything else that goes on with being an NBA head coach, right? And the idea was that, like, okay, we bring in JJ Redick and then we put together like some great staff to kind of help him with just the process, right? And so I'm hoping that Rob Pelinka, that's still the plan. I'm hoping that still ends up happening. Now, obviously, James Borrego, they wanted to bring him in as an assistant. Now, if he ends up taking the Cavs job, then that's definitely not happening. But if he does end up not getting the Cavs job, and he could end up looking at it and go, hey, let me go to the Lakers for a year, right? I know a lot of people are looking at it as like an insult, like, they're trying to get all these guys that are assistants that are more qualified than JJ, but none of them really are. Right? Like, I mean, they're qualified in the sense of being an assistant, but they're not qualified in the sense of being a head coach. I mean, James Borrego was, for a stint, but he's not some, like, just head coach that has this huge pedigree. Like, no, it's just, yeah, he had a moment. He was good. I like James Borrego. Like, if the Lakers hired James Borrego, I wouldn't be upset about it. I do have my concerns about it, but, all these people are a gamble. Right? It's just which gamble do you want to take? And I just think JJ Redick has the most potential upside of all the gambles. I do think you need to put the proper bench around him. I think you need to put him in the proper position to succeed. But again, I'm not really worried about the on-court. I'm not worried about the X's and O's and preparation and, him making adjustments and stuff. I think he has that down. And there's a lot of talks like that. Basically, JJ's already had the interviews through the podcast, and him and LeBron basically breaking down all of the Lakers offense and stuff like that, which, I buy to an extent. I hope that the Lakers, again, are at least doing their due diligence and aren't just like going like, well, he looks good on a podcast, right? Like, I'm hoping that, they actually interviewed him and asked him some hard questions and kind of went about it. Also, there was talks that, JJ doesn't want the Lakers job anymore and he's cooled off on it. And what did I say? I believe if he really is, why is he about to go interview again? It's silly. Like, come on. You don't think JJ Redick, there was a report that was like JJ Redick might not want the circus. What, like, you don't think he knows what the deal is taking the Lakers job? How stupid do you think this guy is? Like, you just think he's clueless? He doesn't know that taking the Lakers head coaching job, there's going to be controversy, there's going to be media, there's going to be... Of course he does. He knows what the deal is taking the Lakers. You don't think the Dan Hurley thing, you don't think like that, like, he's really salty. He doesn't care. He knows the deal. He has no coaching experience, right? Like, he knows what the deal is. Like, it's just, again, I don't buy any of that nonsense, right? Because again, if those reports were true, JJ Redick wouldn't be interviewing right now, right? If he really didn't want the Lakers job, why would he interview for it? Again, it's silly. I think this is the final, like, hey, let's sit down. Here's what we're going to give you contract-wise. And I think this time next week, I think he'll end up being the head coach of the Lakers. I think, you'll hear the noise, you'll hear whatever. JJ Redick will have his little interview, and we'll get ready to go. Because also there's reports that the Lakers are supposed to have a head coach by the draft, right? I mean, we're like a week and a half, 2 weeks away. Right? Like, less than 2 weeks. It's the 26th. So, talking 12 days. Right? So, I imagine that this is probably going to happen pretty quickly. But, anyway, as always, these are my thoughts and opinions. I want to hear yours. Let me know down in the comments below. This is a discussion. Love to hear. What do you think? What are your thoughts? Do you think JJ Redick? Yeah, it's going to be him. He's going to get the head coaching job. Do you think, no, James Borrego? Do you think they surprise us with somebody else? There's somebody else specifically that you want? I really lean towards this is probably that conversation in which, it's like, okay, this is what we're going to offer you. This is how much money it is, right? They might end up having, a little back and forth or whatever. But especially with Boston, very likely wrapping everything up and stuff. And, whether it's a sweep or at worst they win in 5, maybe 6. I think it'll probably be over today. And then, JJ Redick and the Lakers will have their little talk, Saturday or Sunday. And I think Monday or Tuesday, it'll be announced JJ Redick's the head coach in a big shocking move that none of us saw coming. right? But again, maybe it's just me. Maybe it's my little tinfoil hat. I could be wrong. Maybe they shock us. Maybe they surprise us. But what do you think? Do you think they shock us? Do you think they surprise us? Or do you think, like, nah, it's pretty obvious. It's going to end up being JJ Redick. How you feel? Whatever your thoughts are. Love to hear it. Let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. So we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.